I see a cold wind blowing through. I see days neither fun nor free. I see a future caused by you. I see a path not meant to be. The future should be filled with...
Real quick, point of order, just to prove my point that the PFC and I weren't the only points of drama, I dropped off a video into the room about some busty gal on YouTube that had something to do with eHarmony. The joke was, "Hey Brawny, I found you a girl." The shot back was, "Oh, it's eHarmony, this is garbage." And I stopped paying attention that Prince Thunderflare was banned for 1 week, and Brawny was banned for 1 day, for fighting tooth and nail about eHarmony. This happened. I don't even know why, it just did. Bronies are pretty goddamn weird. Clifford Beats had approached me looking for money, and I said if he would do a hit video making fun of people in the Rift, I'd pay him $10. I ended up giving him 11. Myself, Agents of Discord before he went insane, and Vita, as well as I believe Corporal and Brony being in the room. I'm not sure if he contributed or not. Corp, if you're watching this, if you want to clarify anything from the Buck-Off video, my memory is a little foggy, feel free to clarify where I fucked up. The speech that Keyframe used before I recalled Give and Take saying, "Wait, didn't she use this before?" So I kept a copy, waiting for her to do it again. Agents of Discord said he wanted to see this, and then read it off in a very effeminate and passionate tone.
"I'm sorry, guys. I have to do this. You aren't all to blame. The Rift is a place I once loved and cherished, that saved my life and always brought me joy in my very bleak and hurtful reality. But something changed. There are people in here, and you know who you are, that get joy from the pain of others, that would love to see them hurt and see no problem with it, that don't care, that see this place as a silly, absurd group rather than what it truly is, or was. A community of people who create wonderful things, and together can create even more. But people have destroyed and not respected that concept. I'm sorry I have to do this, but until this group is returned to the way it was, where we can at least respect each other as people, I have to go. You are all welcome to contact me. You are all still my family, and that will never, ever change. I still love you all. It's just this hate that oozes from here. I can get enough from my own home life. I'm sorry. Goodbye for now.
We also did 3 skits on pass analysis, one making fun of Biter.
Come to bed. Do you want me to come on the bed? Come around the bed? Define come. Take me. Take you where? Take you on a date? Where do you want to go?
One making fun of Toon Critic and Eliora. I'll get to why in a minute. Not hiding it, you can make up your own damn mind if it was funny or not. So, we got the video done, and I could be wrong, but Toon, Puzzle, and Looney made us a deal that if we kept videos from coming to the Rift, there wouldn't be a problem. Now you'll assume that I threw everyone under the bus in this one. When Cam tossed Clifford out, I stepped up to speak with the staff. Toon was furious, and regretfully I believe I snickered at the time. Later that day, Aino Haisenji pulled me into a call with Eliora, who explained Keyframe's situation. Eliora said herself that she could take the hit, and I apologized. I was banned, and by all rights the story should have ended here. 2 to 3 months had gone by, and Vita of all people had encouraged me to ask to get back in. It took me a week or 2, but I was let back in. Toon had told me not to expect a warm welcome. Sure enough, by the end of the week, I was cool with everyone for the most part. In that time that I was out, I started my own podcast, seeing that a lot of guests were slipping through our fingers. That of the Pony Fuckcast, Pony Tonight, whatever you want to call it.
I'm near. Let's see if it's...
Oh, isn't that cute? I like that.
I could always just design a live streaming banner or whatever if you wanted.
Yeah, you should. You could do fantastic, because if I don't know if you're looking at the stream now, and hello everybody in the chat.
No,
I did it on
Photoshop.
I did it on Photoshop, and
yo, wait, are we running ads right now?
I had a chance to speak to Give and Take.
You're on animation. What do you think ruins animation for you then, since that's your passion?
There's a difference between like an animated short film and an animated cartoon, because a lot of the cartoons I guess when animation isn't important to whatever the media is, like if something's animated for no reason, if you could just as easily tell it in like a book or something. Like if it's not creative at all, I guess. Something really corporate, that's what I don't like.
Phantom Horn, voice of reason, even Crown Prince. I had learned with a little respect and patience that you could go infinitely further in the Brony community than without it. I made up my mind to stop banging my head against the wall. Key agreed to come on with Robin0928 as a co-host, which later led to her own podcast, eventually leading to Silver Quills, Golden Foxes, and several other successful shows. Again, class, the moral of the story is, there literally is no reason to swim upstream for the sake of swimming upstream. It became more and more apparent when I had the PFC members on King of Limbo. I just had more and more retarded things to edit out.
Fuck you.
I like your shirt. I kind of want to buy his shirt.
Yes.
But I
My
don't want to
best.
give him money, so it's kind of like eh.
More times I had to give myself an ulcer about whatever racist, autistic bullshit would come out of their mouths. Fuck Leaky would act indignant about it. Straight up wanted it to be a second pony fuckcast. He didn't seem to understand that people were coming on my show because they didn't want to touch the PFC. Sadly enough, as a result of Buck Off, Cam Goes had stepped down as a mod. And we had a lapse of quality admins then.
But then after that, things started to fall apart, specifically when the other three that weren't me or Looney began to resign from their positions, and we essentially had to replace it with the best of a bad situation. Kind of shit mods, essentially, is what we're getting at. So shit that they couldn't do anything without me or Looney being around. One of us had to sort of police or babysit them. And by the time I had left, and this would have been November of 2014... no one actually knew the rules. Like, I couldn't have even told you what the rules were. I just sort of walked in and said, hey, would you kindly stop being dicks? And that just happened to work. But then you also had the abolishment of things like entrance requirements, where it was so ridiculously easy to get into the Rift. You could get into the Rift for pretty much doing nothing, it almost seemed.
Pink Mist, known for her Princess Skyla video, had been called to fill in the void. I agreed with this at the time, but then a strange thing happened. Before, even when I originally got into the Rift, Pink Mist would grumble about her life. But that couldn't be heard over the louder people in the room. The bigger troublemakers, if you will. By then, Sheldon was gone, Josh Scorcher was gone, Vita was gone, and Keyframe had started to withdraw from. Fun fact, the Buck Off video was the reason why Silver Quill had left the Rift. Funnier fact, I pointed out to many of the people who were nettled with me that he still came on Limbo after that and for a significant time afterwards. Unfortunately, that has since soured. But again, another story. Pink Mist went on for some time using her administrative position to make people listen to her about how bad her life was, especially after her adult boyfriend dumped her, and there was a serious age gap. Before I got back, Brawny was thrown out for daring to say the relationship was a terrible idea. Aeon of Dreams, and perhaps the only boner, the only one I've ever known him to make, bragged about tossing him out for questioning that. Don't worry about it, Peter, no one's perfect. By the time I had gotten back in, Pink's overwhelmingly support had fallen off. There was a new rule: if someone was going on about a topic and 5 people told you to drop it, you had to. So the next time that Pink was going on, I told her to drop it, and I got Leaky to back me up, as well as Corpulent and Sheldon. And here's the twist! Puzzle Brony was the 5th person, out of nowhere, to tell Pink Mist to drop it, and she stormed out of the room. We were all dead shocked. Thank God we were running out of votes. Puzzle had tried to help Pink out for months, much like a lot of other people, but she had used up everyone else's sympathy. About this same time, Maleminus had been removed from the Rift for posting a picture of Sheldon's penis. God, what? It's so hard to defend that. To be fair, I dared him to. Also, to be fair, I didn't think he would. But I'll eat the blame. Despite asking Looney if it should or not, tagging the penis as not safe for work got him permabanned. We eventually got to appeal Maleminus, or Faith's ban, and I got to speak with the staff minus Pink. I thought I made a good speech to get Faith back in the room, but it never happened. At the last minute, I brought up Pink Mist's thing. All the staff seemed super surprised, and said they'd get right on it. All I know is it was Christmas was rolling around, and she was on a 3-day bend of self-loathing in the chat. I let it go for 2 days. It was now Christmas. I was 11 hours into a 12-hour shift, and she said, "Could anyone's life be any worse?" I told her to shut the fuck up, I'm at work, and I don't want to hear you pissing on about how bad you have it. Pink was about to kick me out and looking for support when Clifford of all people told her to shut the fuck up already. And Pink did what she normally did, she stormed out. I was PM'd by Robin0928 and Sweetie Bloom, who thanked me privately. I felt like the Black Sheriff from Blazing Saddles. One day in broad daylight, people might actually shake my hand. Wouldn't that be something? Looney would eventually go on to confront Pink Mist, who, in turn, would storm off for the last time and never return. The truth is, all he had to say is, you're going to have to stop Pink or I'm going to have to remove you. This took months, literally months, and in the history of brony beta mails, this is easily in the top 5. Thing was, I was damn glad when it happened. Looney, to spice things up, brought in a fucking parasite into the mod chat. That man? That parasite? James the Pony Theorist. A man who pulled his support on the Burning Donut at a time when he most needed him. He ditched the PFC the moment he got into the Rift, and was someone I never fucking trusted for even a moment. The only reason I stayed, and I kinda skipped a step, was Caps Locks was made mod. This was at the same time a series of new blood had been brought into the room. I sponsored in people like Tandiega, Herd of Bronies. I can't say for sure if I found Caps Locks before anyone else did, but I was certain many of these people were worthy successors to any of the analysts we had in Brony, which is why you see him in the Analysis Daily banner. To be perfectly clear, I haven't always agreed with Caps, but I've always respected the man and he's a credit to the community. That's why I stayed. About that same time, Emerald Comet and Comic Sans had joined the Rift, and I think Countess Rose and Heather Blossom floated in. I could be wrong. Again, see in the comments if I am. This could have been a new golden era, and I think to a degree it was. Sadly, this was also the time that Shark Disgustes came into the Rift.
And you would have certain people, like one of those people was Shark Disgustes. And, you know, he was kind of a bother to the people in the room. So much so that upon first opportunity, just after resigning thereabouts, I seized an opportunity to just get rid of him and to show you how much the quality control went down when it came to entrance. People were actually cheering me on or giving me congratulatory pats and oorahs for removing the guy. And so that was my sort of last gift to the Rift. But then I hear just after I'm removed, and Looney's the only original mod left, he gets another mod team, which obviously still wasn't that good. First thing I hear is that he adds him back. And my reaction was kind of pissed off. I mean, I removed the guy, and everyone was applauding me as the hero for it. And it wasn't that he was besmirching my name, it was just, it showed how much bad decision-making was there in the leadership at that point. It really only got worse from there, because I wasn't there for this part, and this next part, I mean. And I wasn't involved in it, but I did hear about it, which were stories of people who would, like, have the entire Rift Cafe sending complaints at them on the mods to do something about them, which were people like Shark Discusses or British Brony. But then they won't do anything about those guys. But then you turn around and you hear that other mods are, like, framing users they don't like to get banned, and you wonder what the fuck was going on. So, early on, Looney's Rift may have been, like, a worthwhile investment, but, you know, it kind of quickly fell apart after 2 weeks.
I actually spent hours talking with Shark, with him in the first week when he came into the Rift. He literally called me out of the blue. By the third call, I had to explain to him this was rude and random to just call people. Shark's story is a tragic one. He went from a gabby, somewhat socially awkward kid to a giant, incomplete, opinionated asshole who can never be told he's wrong. People like me in past analysis have talked about this guy for a significant amount of time. And then Shark Disgustes fell entirely out of favor entirely. But we're skipping a step. Looney, once again in his infinite wisdom, sought to bring Cotto back into the Rift, despite the fact he hadn't been in pony content in months. Also despite the fact that Cotto had been an insufferable cunt, even in the Vita army. Like, when he came into the Rift, I was in the middle of argument with Shark Disgustes, when I told him, I need you to shut up, there's a bigger problem that just walked in the door. You know how I said that Shark never acknowledged being wrong? That time he did. Later on that time he would go on to say he was wrong. One night, when Cotto was making fun of the brony who had killed himself, I, Shark, Pass Analysis, and Puzzle Piece banded together to ride the mod staff till Cotto got kicked. Thankfully, Aeon of Dreams had stepped in, and that was that. Again, my memory is a bit foggy, so comments below. I do know Corpulent, for no reason whatsoever, fought to keep Cotto in, and they thankfully just ignored him. I was told by Aeon of Dreams Biter did the same, and thankfully they ignored him as well. The first time Shark got kicked out of the Rift, he was shrieking at Stardust. I had gotten back from the bathroom and call. It was Biter, I, and Leaky. and Stardust. I told Aeon of Dreams, who was looking for a way not to be a mod anymore, and as one of his last acts was to toss Shark out, something that James the Pony Theorist fucked up later on by bringing him back. Looney had seen the gains I had from hobnobbing with animators and started to seek them out and add them to the Rift. He even said graciously enough that I could toss Crown Prince into the Rift and I wouldn't need permission. I gave him Mindless Gonzo instead, who lasted about a week before leaving. To Looney's credit, he locked up animated James, Minty Root, and Toucan LDM. James had never been present, Toucan was active for one day and never to be heard from again, and this Minty Root requires some backstory. Back in the PFC, Corpulent latched on to Minty Root's balls because he wanted to have his very own Crown Prince. Minty is not an animator for hire, and ultimately till this day, all Corp's verbal blowjobs were for naught. About this time, I was an admin in the PFC, and Vita used to beg me to admin him so he could kick Minty out. I did, and then Vita would throw him out. Corp would then whine at Vita, and Vita would then kick him out. This went on about 6 to 7 times before the PFC yanked my mod privileges. I regret nothing. Minty by this time hated my fucking guts, and I hated his guts for being the first shit PFC podcast that isn't even up on the channel anymore. There's a newer one that came up later, but that's another story. Minty hated analysis, he hated analysts. He was only in the room to whine about his life. But we'll get back to that in a minute. The current grumblings in the Rift at this time were about this plucky young upstart named Rhino Mills, who had been attacking Lightning Bliss and Robin0928. Neither of these people were on my best friend forever list, but still being a shitlord, I went out to pick a fight with Ryan, as he had hit the analysis community, to which I utterly failed and came back after pledging him $1 on Patreon. How did that happen? Well, I asked him to come on King of Limbo, and I didn't even know what a commentary was. It just seemed like a way to pick a fight. The funny thing is that Ryan said he'd come on as long as we didn't kiss his ass. So on short notice, I gathered up Sheldon, Aeon of Dreams, and Dylan, KP's former head editor, and we smacked the piss out of Ryan, easily one of the least professional podcasts I've ever done. Despite that, Ryan had a good time and came back to the Limbo Skype chat group, where he ran out when he saw Biter. Why? Well, because Biter's a giant troublemaker. Oddly enough, Ryan kind of guessed that right, which seemed silly at the time. Me, Vita, and Dylan and Biter all had plans to screw with the Rift. At that time, we had learned from Ryan that Voice of Reason had a 6-page or so script on Biter that he had handed off to Ryan, who had passed on the damn thing for being too long. Biter, not to be undaunted, took that script and turned it into an hour-plus video. Now, to be fair, I did acquire the script from Voice of Reason, so we could all look at it. I think Voice of Reason thought I was going to hit Biter, and that's how I got it. Biter got banned for 3 weeks, and I got banned for 2. This was 1 week from Season 5's premiere, and I remember being pissed off that I was going to miss being in the Rift for the premiere. Basically, as my final fuck you, I made a series based on a video made by Dark Edge called My Real Thoughts on the Rift. I once again completely failed because instead of getting a permaban, Sweetie Bloom and Stardust, who had filled in for Aeon, had spoke up for me and had my sentence cut back for 1 week, letting me back in for the premiere, as this series would be a means by which for me to critique members of the Analysis Rift, without the mods having to necessarily say certain things.
But AJ the autistic pony, and I am in fact not going to make fun of him for any mental condition. However, I've noticed this. When I've been in calls with AJ, and whenever he gets put into a corner, he kind of resorts back to citing that second half of the name, and it sort of feels like he uses it like a get out of jail free card. I'm not keen on it. I've seen his recent videos. I like his tone. I think it's not something that you have to constantly bring up. I'm half Latino. My name is Anthony Aguilar, and if I sat there and said every time I got into an argument and I started losing, "Oh, you're giving me a hard time because I'm Spanish." Well, yeah, I used to do that when I was like younger, and it rubbed people the wrong way. I haven't seen AJ in a while. It's just something that I've noticed a couple of times. It's a critique. It's just my opinion, and even if it sucks, it's mine.
Fun fact, I had cancelled this series before I'd gotten to Toon Critic. That was one of the names I was going to go on about, but my common sense had kicked in by then. He would later go on and make a request of me to do that video anyways. Again, another story in another video that already exists, thankfully. Skimming ahead, I believe this video was my real thoughts on the Rift 6. Minty Root was unbelievably butthurt because I said he was a talentless hack that should quit and leave the community. Now, before the wheels come off the bus entirely, there was one last item of business with the PFC and the Rift. It was late Saturday. I was at work and tired when Stardust ran into the Rift, screaming for help. Stardust, in the vein of Aeon of Dreams, was a cool mod, and she was having a breakdown because people in the PFC were chanting rape at her. This was one of my great bridge burning moments. I would go home, take a bath, seize the room, which ultimately didn't amount to anything, oddly enough. I was an admin somehow by this time again. I made a video calling out the room because Stardust wasn't just our friend, she had our backs. People like her kept the rift from being overflown with dipshits like James the Pony Theorist. Clearly the PFC had its head so far up its own ass it never seemed to understand that politics like this. People like Leaky called me a sociopath for siding with Stardust over the PFC. I want to state this clearly. I'm not sorry. After I put that hit video up, which you can find on Vita's channel here, Puzzle and Toon Critic once again in PM Land thanked me because I'm a dirty, filthy bastard that no one could possibly be seen talking to in broad daylight. I don't apologize for saying that Project Thundercloud 2 was shit. I don't mind the first one because I saw it for what it was, a trailer. Long story short, I was told never to talk about Minty Root ever again. Later on I was mentioned I was paid $50 to watch Dinky's Destiny, which I was.
I was just sitting there picturing face intro.
Okay, hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Faith from Limitless. You can actually hear my intro right now, Anthony. Impeding danger. I don't care about these characters because you didn't give me anything to care about. You can't just flash a bunch of images and tell me, oh, they're good people, they have such a strong emotional connection. You didn't develop anything. You had 22 minutes.
Minty leaned on Looney to ban me, and for a week after I'd stormed out and I had removed myself from the rift, Looney played a childish bullshit game like he did with Vita, with him contacting me and having Stardust tell me, they're gonna ban you. And I'd ask him and he'd tell me everything is okay, and then he'd send Stardust to go fuck with me again. I would repeatedly break from writing a script, reading it, because a 16-year-old edgelord wanted to impress an animator. I never apologized for my thoughts on the rift, and I never will. You're a cuck, Looney. You fucking damn near ruined the analysis community with your capacity for idiocy on a level that's fucking astounding! And that's where my story ends on the inside of the rift in the second rift. I fucked up a lot, but not nearly as bad as the nut behind the wheel. Later on, I would help sponsor Ryan into the rift. You need 150 subs to be in and 3 pieces of Bernie content. Of those, you could host or co-host a podcast. Ryan is one of the best damn co-hosts I've ever had, and that's no lie. I learned to appreciate the commentary community because unlike the PFC, it builds on ideals, logic, and not a bunch of 4chan spaghetti lords who want to bring everyone down to their level. One of my proudest moments was blackmailing Looney into kicking Shark out of the rift because he refused to help Fallen Wish. I had recorded a conversation which he later on tried to welch on. And get this, Looney would go on to punish Fallen Wish only to kick Shark out after Toon Critic started talking about how many people wanted nothing more to do with Shark. When Fallen had horse news bearing down on her ass, Looney once again used his chance to yank the rift back into his hands and away from hers. Ever the conniving, sniveling, groveling weasel of a man, my biggest problem with the male Alicorn was that he was a lazy bastard. Looney went out of his way to keep people down because it amused him. I'm literally choking on bile and loathing just thinking on how bad you fuck things up. It took me a long time to get the rift back from where it is to where it is now. I can look back now without a shadow of a doubt and say that the secret rift, our secret rift, is in the best hands possible. I'll admit, I tripped and fell as often, if not more than anyone else, but I saw it through. We made some hard choices on who gets in and who gets out. I haven't always agreed, but it's always worked. Every day I wake up waiting to see it come crashing down around my head. I want to thank Kichi FIM, British Ninja, Secret Dreamer, Spirited Rainbow, Rhino Reno Mills, Aeon of Dreams, Stardust, Keyframe, Golden Fox, Toon Critic, and everyone else who's seen us through from where we are. Thank you. Stardust, I doubt you'll see this, but I consider you a friend and I'm sorry you feel slighted. You know, someone said something that summed this up once, and I kind of laughed at it. I've learned from my mistakes. Maybe you can too.